Episode 2 of Transfer Talk. As I say, it's something people love or it's something that people hate. But for those who do like this, welcome to episode 2 of Transfer Talk, where we're going to have a look at the entire last 7 days worth of transfer links, rumours, and speculation to the club. Talk about them in a little bit more detail than we normally do in the main news. And I'll give you an opinion on this. I'll give you the name of the player, the source that's linked them to Leeds United, and some detail about the player. And we'll see if they all add up. We've had plenty of talk this week from Pragmarate, so we know, well, we have a good idea what Leeds United are looking for in the transfer market, or at least the desired direction the club are going to go during the transfer market. And we've kind of got an insight into some exits that will likely happen, or at least contract talks around a few players. We know Ethan Ampadu has signed on for another 4 years. Sorry about saying less than 4 years the other day. I did correct it, but 4 years, which is brilliant. Excellent for the club and a very strong statement, as Pragmarate said, to the rest of the market. Leeds will not necessarily be letting their better players go. Although, we've all said it, you just wouldn't be surprised if there was one sacrificial lamb that went out. And if that is the case of the contracts, and they're the ones that will dictate, I think, an awful lot of what extra work Leeds decide to do this summer. There's players with 1 year left. If they don't sign new deals this summer, they're likely to be sold, and that could send Leeds down slightly different directions for players that maybe not be their primary targets at this moment in time. And what I mean by that are players like Alajbegovic. Leeds are said to be happy with their midfield. They're not looking at bringing anybody else in. Alajbegovic's got 1 year left on his deal. If Leeds decide to not sign him to an extension, or he decides he doesn't want to sign an extension, then Leeds will likely sell him, and then there might be a need for Leeds to go and bring another defensive-minded midfielder into the club. But that's the details. So if you're into the normal news stuff where it's just blow by blow, blow by blow, you can check out the rest of the news during the week in the Rumour Mill. This is going to be slightly different. It's not the news, it's transfer talk. So we're going to get into a little bit more detail on the players. The main ones that have popped up from the credible ones. And then at the very back end of this, we'll do the less credible ones, if any of these are credible at this moment in time. But Roony Bardghji, or Bardghji, I don't know how it's pronounced. You can let me know if I'm getting this right now. I think it's Bardghji, but you can let me know. Abubakar Kinteh, which a lot of people seem to be fairly excited about that link. We've got Alajbegovic, who's also been linked with the club, and Nathan Aki. They are kind of the more mainstream links over the course of the last couple of days. Then we'll get to the, as I say, more speculative ones, which include Tanner Tessman, Lucharel Gertrude, Yassine Tretraoui, Konstantinos Tzolakis. I've got that wrong, I know I have. And then we'll talk about Harry Wilson as well, as more detail keeps coming out around that one as well. So that's the lineup for today. We'll start off with the first transfer that's popped up, and that is Roony Bardghji. As I say, I am hoping I'm getting this guy's name wrong. It looks like Bardghji. I think it's Bardghji. I should have checked it out, but I didn't. But there you go. You can let me know. People like to let me know stuff, so you can let me know if I'm right or wrong on this, or how I'm pronouncing this phonetically to get it right. Well, young winger, left-sided player, or left-footed player. Leeds are looking for a right-sided winger who with a left foot. I think it's that hybrid 10 wide player position that we've got with Noah Okafor on the other side of the pitch. So it does tick that box. Left-footed player, 20 years of age, from Barcelona. Didn't play a huge amount of football last year. Was involved in 28 games, but only managed 633 minutes of total football. He is still a very highly rated young winger, and to be playing in La Liga and Barcelona at 20 years of age, you've got to be some level of quality. They, of course, went on and won La Liga this year. So you're not hanging around that squad and getting any kind of minutes unless you're of a relatively serious level of footballing ability. His start is interesting because he started off at FC Copenhagen, and his career started very, very brightly. He scored for Copenhagen at 16 years of age, and is their youngest ever goal scorer. He scored against Manchester United as well in Europe back in 2023. So there is some level of quality to the player. The interesting part of this will be any kind of a transfer fee. So Barcelona are said to be open to a sale of the young winger. They're looking for anything between €20 million and €25 million. So that's anything between 18 and 22 million pounds, which would be a big chunk of Leeds United's budget this summer if they were to put that on him. And again, given the lack of minutes, they would really want to see something in him to be a player that they bring in. I would imagine Leeds are looking for a first choice in there in competition for Brendan Aronson in that position. So there is that. The source on this one, originally, this came from Team Talk, and we always say the same thing with Team Talk. They get a lot of stories out there, throw a lot of stuff at the wall. Some of it sticks, a lot of it doesn't. But they're the ones that originally linked it. It was then picked up by a lot of the aggregate sites. I shouldn't say aggregate sites like that. This is an aggregate site channel. But you know what I mean? It's picked up by all the kind of other online sources who start talking about it, embellishing on it a little bit. But according to Team Talk, the player himself would rather go on loan. So he is still backing himself to have a career at Barcelona. He would like to go out on loan this summer. Maybe that's something Leeds would look at if they got all their main targets in and they could bring in an additional player on loan for a season, maybe with an obligation. But given this is coming primarily from Team Talk, given what Leeds are looking for, he does tick the box of the type of player they're looking for. But the fee that's there with him, I think it's a bit high. So I would stick this in a 5 out of 10 bracket in terms of any kind of truth in this story. But we'll see. And again, we'll cover all of these because as much as they all might be wrong most of the time, every now and then they get one right. So we'll track them. We'll see if they're right come the end of the transfer window. So that's Roony Bardghji out of the way. The next one, and this one was, I suppose, talked about very loudly for a day or two and then kind of went away pretty quickly. And it was Nathan Ake. And it's an interesting one because it was kind of tied to the Pascal Stroke situation. Leeds are in a situation where Pascal Stroke has been confirmed by the Athletic. If Pascal Stroke doesn't sign a new deal this summer for Leeds United, he will be sold this summer, which means Leeds United could do with getting another left-sided centre back in. Ladislav Krejci has been the one that has been linked heaviest with Leeds at this moment in time. He is staying with Wolves right now. Wolves have confirmed his signing from Girona. They're likely to sell him. He wants to move. He's got a World Cup this summer as well. That one could move on until later in the summer transfer window, given that the World Cup is slap bang in the middle of it. So Nathan Ake then pops up. Now, Nathan Ake is an interesting one because there's a lot to like about this. Nathan Ake is 31 years of age, so brings a huge amount of experience. He's a Premier League winner, a Champions League winner. He is a left-footed centre-half, and he's 31 years of age, so brings a ton of experience to the squad. He's a captain. He's a leader. All of that is very, very strong. However, he is over the demographic of what the 49ers enterprises tend to go for at 31 years of age. The story from The Athletic this week said that Leeds will be looking for a younger profile of player. Ake will be on the older side of what they normally tended to go for. So I don't know about that. Again, the source on this, it came from Graham Bailey in Team Talk. There's a lot of clubs mentioned. Crystal Palace does seem like the most likely destination for Nathan Ake if he was to leave. And you wouldn't rule out a return to Bournemouth even for him either. So there's plenty of clubs there. The age for me, I would stick this very much in a 4 out of 10 bracket for me in terms of whether I would rate this as a credible link to Leeds United at this moment in time. Might be something that you would look at. Again, 1 year left on his deal. That does tick a box the 49ers like to look for. The height is there as well. The left-footed part is there, but I don't know. And again, Man City aren't going to let him go away for overly cheaply amount of money, so he's going to cost you a bit for a player that's probably long term you'd be looking at getting your replacement in for anyway. So I don't know if he fits what Leeds need right now, but would I like him as a player? Yeah. Would I think he'd do a job for Leeds? Absolutely. I think he would add an awful lot, but I think Leeds themselves would be looking for a player between the ages of 26 and 28 if I was to guess, and I am guessing. So that's Nathan Ake. The next one was a really interesting one, and I was surprised by the reaction that this one got. For a lot of people, relatively unknown, but there were plenty of people in the comments over the last couple of days who made a point of talking about this kid, and it's Abubakar Kinteh. So he's playing at Tromsø. He's a left footer. He's 19 years of age, centre half as well. So that left footed centre half there is important, and he's tall lad as well. A lot of people are saying that this could be a really strong signing for Leeds. A couple of people who are Norwegians who watch this channel and commented and saying they've watched him this season and he will be a fantastic get for Leeds. He's young. He's 19 years of age. I think I labelled him during the week as maybe one Leeds look at bringing in for the under-21 side for a year or two because, you know, he's 19 years of age. And the fee that has been linked to him isn't very high for any Premier League club and would feel very much like a Championship mid-table side transfer fee of a summer or a Premier League side signing somebody for the future and sticking them under the 21 side. €6 million, so about 4.7, 4.8 million pounds. It was linked, the source that linked it was Italian journalist Rudy Galetti. I'm choking on my own words. It was Italian journalist Rudy Galetti. He linked Leeds. And Rudy Galetti does work in conjunction with Team Talk, so you would have to pinch of salt of that. Except Rudy Galetti would have an awful lot more credibility and would get an awful lot more things right on this situation. Kinteh's a very, very highly rated young centre half. He made 21 appearances in the Norwegian Elite Serie A last season for Tromsø, and he's already kicked off this season. They've only just started their season this year. He's played in 14 games so far, in and around that this year as well. Football and centre back, very good on the ground, left footer, can play ball, good in the air, good at attacking set pieces. Again, an awful lot to like. Would tick the box of left footed centre half, good in the air, good footballer, and he's of the younger profile, but very younger profile. It is coming from Rudy Galetti. If I was to put a rating on this one, I'd say 6 out of 10 on this one. The clubs that are interested in him, it's only Leeds and Cologne. Cologne are labelled, though, as the favourites to get his signature this summer. Last season, though, apparently Manchester United, Chelsea and Al Ahly were all said to be interested in him as well. So he did have plenty of interest at one moment in time. This season, not so much. But again, a very young player. Teams might be just having a little look at him and keeping tabs over a couple of years and seeing where he is in a year or two's time. But could be, looks like, it does appear to be Cologne as the more likely destination, but Leeds are credited with some level of interest in him at this moment in time. The next the final kind of major connection with Leeds is Karim Alajbegovic, the Bosnian international, who will head off to the World Cup this summer. And this is a really interesting one. This one came from the Daily Mail. And as we all know, the Daily Mail, since the 49ers took over Leeds, have tended to be pretty close to the club and tend to get the more interesting breaking stories from the club, them and the Athletic. But they linked him. Simon Jones is the one that's linked Alajbegovic with Leeds United. He's a two-footed player. He can play left-hand side, right-hand side in those wing positions, so gives you options there as well. Again, a very young player, 18 years of age. 44 appearances last season for Red Bull Salzburg. Now, Bayer Leverkusen sold him to Red Bull Salzburg. I think it was for £7 million. I could be wrong on that. He had a really good season. Leverkusen had a buy option to buy him back, a buyback option in his contract. So after the season he had, they actioned that option immediately and brought him straight back to the club. So he's back there now, and they're looking for in and around 17-18 million pounds for him. So it's all money. They brought him back. Interesting player, 14 goal contributions last season with Red Bull. Will go back into the Leverkusen squad this summer. Split story on this. One source says Leverkusen absolutely want to keep the player next season. Another source says that they will be open to a sale as long as they can get the fee that they want. And that kind of goes for every single player. Everyone has a price tag on their head if you can hit that fee. £17.2 million, a lot of money, 18 years of age, has got goals in him, is coming from a pretty strong source, though, the Daily Mail and Simon Jones. So this is one for me I would keep an eye on. There are a ton of clubs, as you can expect, that are linked to him as well. AS Roma, Aston Villa, Napoli, Inter Milan and Arsenal at one moment in time, apparently in January, had a bit of a look at him as well. So there's clearly talent there if a lot of these top clubs are looking at trying to bring him in. And of course, Leeds are in that mix as well. But again, Daily Mail, Simon Jones, strong enough one, £17.5 million. I'd stick a 7 out of 10 on this one and see where it goes, depending on if it ends up in a bidding war. Leeds won't get involved, and that's the main thing. So if they all start putting over 17 million in it, expect Leeds not to be involved in it at all. The more speculative ones, so these are the kind of rumours that floated around more so on aggregate sites and never really got picked up by any major outlets. Not that that means anything during summer, because at this moment in time it's pure rumour mill stuff. So we'll cover them because you never know. That's the only reason we'll cover them. The first one's Tanner Testament. This one isn't going away, although it is starting to get a little bit quieter on it, or at least it's been ran by outlets that would have little to no credibility. This initially started off from Jonas Vito in France, and they said Leeds were interested in revamping their midfield this summer, and Tanner Testament, the USMNT international, who is not going to the World Cup this summer, was a player Leeds were interested in. 24 years of age, central defensive midfielder, big athletic footballer, would definitely be someone I would be interested in seeing in the middle of the park for Leeds in the Premier League. However, we now know from the Athletic that Leeds are happy with their midfield, and unless it's a case of Ilya Gruev leaving, someone like Tanner Testament doesn't look like it's going to be a player that Leeds United go for. They said to be happy with the midfield. Atletico Madrid had a look at him in January. They did bid, didn't get him. You're talking over £25 million if you do want to bring Tanner Testament to your club. Interesting that he wasn't selected for the USMNT squad for the World Cup, because he was part of the build-up to that as well. And again, he is a very athletic, very strong midfielder. But given where this story is now, you're in the 3 out of 10, 4 out of 10 bracket for this one. So it's not even in pinch of salt territory anymore. It's in a weakening link by the week. So yeah, does not look like Tanner Testament is a player Leeds United are having a serious look at. The next one to talk about, which again is on that fading bracket, is Lucharel Gertrude, linked very early this summer, nearly before the end of the season. And initially, this came out from Sebastian Vandal, who has zero credibility when it comes to putting stories out around Leeds. He's linked so many players to Leeds, and he linked 5 players in 1 week to Leeds. It's pure click farming on X at this stage with Sebastian Vandal. However, Team Talk did also pick it up, and they said that Leeds had genuine interest in Lucharel Gertrude. Now, we all know he had a very strong season on loan at Sunderland. He has gone back to Red Bull Leipzig. Leeds have that connection with Red Bull, although that connection between Leeds and Red Bull has yet to deliver a player going one way or the other at this time. So, you can't put a huge amount of credibility in that. He's a left and a right-footed player, can do left or right fullback positions. So if Leeds are looking for an additional player to give them options in the left and right full positions, getting something similar to James Justin, they will get that. It's not a bespoke left-sided player, which they are looking for this summer, according to The Athletic. It wouldn't be a bespoke guaranteed competition for Gabby Goodmunson over there. It won't be a player of very high quality who could give you a lot of competition in that position. So an interesting one, but against Sebastian Vidal, not very strong. Team talk, not very strong at this moment in time. So yeah, that's one that is fading away. 4 out of 10 for me on that one. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. The next one is Yassine Traoui, and this one came up before the end of the season initially, and it's poked its head up again this week. And this one is about a 22-year-old central midfielder, and the Yorkshire Evening Post had a little bit about this one. They didn't rule it out completely, but they did label it very much as more of the speculative end of summer transfer connections or links at this moment in time. Decent midfielder, good player, had a good season, but again falls into the same bracket of Leeds have profiles of player in midfield like him right now. Unless somebody was to leave, it's unlikely that Traoui will be one that Leeds will look at. But he has been mentioned again this week. That's the second time he's been mentioned over a couple of months, so said we'd include it. But outside of that, there is very little detail when you go looking into this story of anything credible. There's a lot of column inches filled with who he is, what he does. That's it. The connection to the club and the source connection of this is very, very small and very, very weak at this moment. So yeah, that one probably not likely. And then the interesting one is a goalkeeper. There's been not a huge amount of goalkeepers linked with Leeds, and especially given the news this week that Carl Darlow could be in talks with Spurs around the contract there, or at least weighing up his options between Leeds and a possible move somewhere else this summer. So Leeds are going to need to replace him if that is the case. However, if Carl Darlow does sign a new deal at Leeds, and Leeds goalkeeping department is another area that Leeds are said to be very happy with right now, so they won't be doing anything unless they absolutely had to. This one came up, and it's out there. It's left field. It's not come from a very strong source at all, but it's an interesting one, and it's Konstantinos Tzolakis. You can guess how long of a break I took between that and the edit. Tzolakis, yeah, Konstantinos Tzolakis. He's a Greek goalkeeper, 23 years of age, 6'4" in height, right-footed goalkeeper, very highly thought of, very highly spoken about across European football. He's got a contract that runs until 2027. The key issue with this is, well, to start with, his valuation is €20 million, so about £18.5 million. For a goalkeeper of that age, he is an exciting young goalkeeper. He is highly rated. However, the big problem here is he plays for Olympiacos, which obviously has the very strong connection with Nottingham Forest. And you've obviously got Marinakis in the middle of that. There are a load of clubs interested in him. You've got Fenerbahce, you've got Borussia Dortmund, you've got Leverkusen, who have all inquired about the goalkeeper. Leeds have been mentioned as well. Napoli put a bid in January for him of €20 million. Didn't get him. So we'll be over that if anyone does want to get him. Transfer Feed picked this one up. They linked Leeds with it. It does feel a little bit like click farming and looking for interactions. It seems unlikely because another source that I saw from Greece claims that if he's going anywhere, he's going to Nottingham Forest, and he will go and stay within the Marinakis umbrella. So that is an interesting one because he's an interesting goalkeeper and he's an exciting young goalkeeper. But unless he has better options, it looks like he'll head towards Nottingham Forest. So if you see his name floating around, there is that very strong connection to Marinakis already. The other one and the final one to talk about today is a little bit more noise floating around on Harry Wilson. This feels like it's the transfer that's going to wind everybody up this summer because we've been linked with Harry Wilson for over a year now. Airplanes on tarmacs and everything last summer, as Jerry likes to say. But the interesting part of this is there's a lot more noise. The ITKs on Wacko and other places are claiming that Leeds have a genuine interest in him. We know Baron Cross in the Athletic said that Leeds to see him as an active live transfer target this summer. Leeds are looking for a left-footed, right-sided attacker. Harry Wilson ticks that box. He's had a fantastic season. Host of clubs interested in him. Aston Villa. There's even a rumour Liverpool might be interested in bringing him back to the club. They've changed manager now. Whether Andoni Iraola wants that profile or not, or he's happy with what he's got, remains to be seen. But he is a player that Leeds have been very, very heavily linked with. We've now had very credible sources confirm Leeds' interest. If the Athletic are saying that sources at the club have told them that he's a live target, then we can confirm that their Leeds United do have genuine interest in Harry Wilson. That doesn't mean Leeds are going to get him because he's a free agent. And as was said in January when Leeds tried a second time to get him, he can play the waiting game now and he can play the field. He can look at all the contract offers of all the clubs out there. He might look at the continent as well. He might head off to Benfica with Marco Silva. He has a ton of options and he can weigh The interesting factor will be the Welsh lads. Did they have a chat with him this week when he was on international duty? Did they get in his ear? He would do an awful lot for Leeds in that attacking third. A free transfer frees up a huge amount of money to go off and get other players in other positions, or another attacking player, another 10. And according to Baron Cross, Leeds want an attacking player on the right side with a left foot, and they want a number 10. So that's 2. So it's not like Wilson will be the player Leeds are looking at to fill that void. It will be an additional player to that. And again, if you get him for nothing, going back to last summer and getting Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Lucas Metzger for free, if you can get a Harry Wilson for free this summer, really sharp bit of business if they can do it. This won't be straightforward. This won't be easy, and I wouldn't lose my mind if Leeds don't end up getting him because of the volume of interest. Aston Villa are very, very interested in him. They have Champions League football next season. You know, he'll get a lot of game time there as well. Interesting to see what will happen with Emi Buendia in that situation. We're due an Emi Buendia link to Leeds any minute now, aren't we? That has to happen. Him and Ryan Kent. Any moment now they'll start popping up. But that's the interesting one. That's the only confirmed genuine story this summer yet, is that Leeds do have interest in Harry Wilson. Outside of that, every other story we've covered, take it with the right amount of skepticism. Wait and see. We covered these because a lot of people are interested in rumours during the summer, and every now and then one of these hits. And rather than turn around in the middle of August and go, well, that one came out of nowhere, we'll be able to go back and go, well, actually, he was linked to March by this crowd, and give him a bit of credibility. So that's where we are, folks, with all of the transfer rumours this weekend. Back tomorrow morning for the news. You can check that out if you want to, and podcasts throughout the week as well. If you want to help support the channel, you can do so by liking and subscribing to the videos. I will talk to you soon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. See you later.